Hello YouTube, how is y'all's day going? Today we are doing another updated mock draft, this time with trades, so it should be pretty interesting. If you guys could do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, I'd really appreciate it. Let's get into it. Alright, starting off the draft with the number 1 pick, we have the Houston Texans. There really probably shouldn't be any much of a change up here. You know, some people are starting to argue that the Texans might like a prospect like CJ Stroud more because he's a little bit more proven in accuracy and stuff like that. Downsides with CJ Stroud is his running ability, and I think the Texans want a more modern QB. The reason why you'd argue maybe differently at the number 1 pick is because of Bryce Young's size. He's 6 foot flat. So, you know, a lot of the modern QB prospects that do really well in the NFL are usually 6'2", 6'3", and above. So, you know, you could make an argument there. I don't think you'll get far with it. So the Texans will still be landing Bryce Young in this mock. I think he's as good as it gets when he's just so balanced. He's able to throw on the run. He was able to make run plays. He's able to throw the ball deep. He's accurate. You know, so I think especially with a team like the Texans that they could really use an all-around quarterback that can kind of help boost their offense to a whole nother level. So number 2, I have the Bears taking Will Anderson. These first 3 picks I had the exact same, I believe, in my last mock draft. And they're going to stay that way because these 3 are really just kind of locked in. These guys are the top 3 picks, unless there's a trade or something like that, barring any injuries too, of course. But Bears take Will Anderson. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jalen Carter is a better fit for the Bears, but the fact of the matter is edge is much more valuable. Will Anderson will be a phenomenal prospect, a phenomenal player for them. I just think if you have your choice between the two, that you end up taking the edge rusher because they do a hell of a lot more damage in salary too. But number 3, we have the Seahawks taking Jalen Carter. Again, stopping the run defense. Jalen Carter is actually... I was watching a little bit of film on him today. Jalen Carter is actually kind of somebody that I think that could play as like a 3-4. In a 3-4, I think you could play him at left or right end. I think he would excel at either one. Or you can play him at flat nose tackle. That's fine too. He's a very, very strong player. For some reason, he kind of reminds me of like a little bit of a heavier set like Michael Brockers. I don't know where I really got that comparison, but, you know, Michael Brockers is able to push his way in with Will, so I kind of like that. Number 4, I usually have the Cardinals going O-line, which they do desperately need, but, you know, with looking at what their defense is looking like, you know, offense I think can get the job done, but their defense just lets up too much points. Christian Gonzalez undoubtedly is the best cornerback prospect in this class. I will say it 1,000 times. I will continue to say it in my future mock drafts. There are very few guys that I see come close to him. Okay, let me rephrase that. There are guys that come close to him, but he's on a whole nother tier. That's what I need to be explaining that. He's on a whole nother tier than these other corners. I really like him. He's lengthy. He's got fluid hips. In a Cardinals defense where they play a good bit of man, I think that this would be a perfect prospect. So I have that. Now, number 5, we have a trade up from the Panthers. So I'm going to tell you what that trade scenario looks like. We have the Panthers trading their 2023 first, pick 8, a 2023 second round pick, pick 59, and a 2024 future third round pick to the Colts for pick 5. So the reason why I would do something like this is because I think the Panthers and the Jets are the 2 most quarterback needy teams. I've said that before. I'll say it again. You know, CJ Stroud just seems like someone that would work excellently with a wide receiver like DJ Moore. I think the Panthers are tired of having these, you know, experimental guys, stuff like that, kind of like the Colts might be. But in my opinion, I kind of have like a gut feeling. In my opinion, I feel like the Colts don't like the QB prospects in this draft that much. And I think that if they were to go with one at their pick, for some reason, I feel like it'd be Will Levis. I just kind of have a gut feeling that they don't really like the QBs that are available in this draft. So for me, I see them trading it back at 8, and they're like, well, if Will Levis is there, we can either pick him or we can pick O-line because those are by far and away their most, you know, that they need those positions desperately. So I could see them trading back to 8, and they're like, if Will Levis is there, then we will. And then that's exactly why I have the next trade coming up, which I'm not going to skip my Falcons. But I have the Falcons taking Miles Murphy, edge rusher. He'll fit perfect in our defense. He'll take on that Taquan Graham role. Taquan Graham sometimes slides into nose tackle, which I don't think we'll probably do that with Myles Murphy. Super raw strength guy, got a really good bull rush. And I think that the Falcons would like this since it's one of our biggest needs. So I'm actually really, I would be happy with that pick, especially at 6. There's some other edge rushers that I've mocked before, like Jared Verse, who I'm really high on, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to have my Falcons taking Myles Murphy. So number 7, this is another trade up to get Will Levis. So before I wasn't a really big believer in the Raiders like moving on from Carr, but just recently, last night while making the mock draft, I saw that Derek Carr is being benched for the last couple of games in the season, and since that's the case, then it makes me think that they probably are. One, I think that they could be doing it just to get a better pick, which is smart, but 2, maybe they just want to move on from him. He's got a decent contract. I think it would be stupid personally. I'm actually a Carr believer. I think, he hasn't played the best this season. Lots of quarterbacks have down seasons, bounce back from it. I think it's more so to blame on the O-line. So I don't know how to feel about that, but I think that since there's so much rumors surrounding it, I think that, and since this would be embarrassing, if I was Derek Carr and I was in this position, it would be embarrassing to me. So I have them taking a quarterback here. I have them trading up for Will Levis. And some people might say, well, wow, that's, why would the Raiders do that? Will Levis isn't even that proven. It's like, all right, man, maybe they want to take a swing here. Maybe they think Levis can do a better job. I would much rather, in my opinion, and I love Anthony Richardson and what he has to offer, but in my opinion, at this moment in time, I would take Levis over Richardson, especially for the Raiders offense. So I have the Raiders trading up. They trade pick 9 in the first, a 2023 fourth projected pick 109, and then a 2024 fourth to the Lions for pick 7, and the Lions will be trading back a 2024 future 6th round pick. So that's what I have the Lions trading back, because I think that honestly, I think the Lions should trade back if they're at this position. There's a couple other players, like if Christian Gonzalez was here, then I would be like, oh no, like they need to take him. But this is something where they're not even going out of the top 10, and they're getting a fourth later in this draft and a future fourth. And I think it's just really smart for them to do something like that. So Raiders trade up. They take Will Levis. They see this guy with a lot of potential, all the physical attributes that you want. And they're like, hey, let's try to build this guy up. Let's mold him in with some solid receiving weapons with Renfro and Devontae Adams and Darren Waller when healthy. And then we'll target some offensive line pieces later in the draft. So maybe that's how they look at it. But Colts moving back from 8 from the Carolina Panthers trade. I have them taking Peter Skoronski. They don't see any of the quarterback prospects that would really reach out to them, and they need offensive line desperately. I'm a huge fan of Skoronski. I think he's the best tackle in this draft. If he doesn't work out at tackle, they can slide him in at guard. Absolutely. He will work out at one of the two and be excellent there. So I'm very high on Skoronski. I think with the Colts situation, that's what they need most. I think that they can roll with another veteran or free agency pickup or whatever, or maybe even a guy that they can get in the second, third, fourth round for another year. But I think that the more pressing need is offensive line, and I think that they would do better this season, very much so, if they had a better offensive line. And I don't think all these things that are surrounding Matt Ryan would be the case. So I have the Colts taking Peter Skoronski at number 8. Number 9, this is the trade with the Raiders. The Lions, I have taking JPJ, Joey Porter Jr. Their secondary needs help, besides Kirby Joseph, who's been a phenomenal rookie safety for them, and Jeff Okudah stepping up a little bit. Amani Oruwariye kind of had a good season last year, but not so much this year. I mean, there's a lot going on. Tracy Walker's solid, but he's not your, probably not your guy that you're moving forward. I think he's 28. So yeah, I have them taking a defensive corner here. I love Joey Porter's his length, his size. I think he's 6'2". He's just a really lengthy corner. It seems like he can really extend to make a play. So I really like Joey Porter Jr. for the Lions. I think that would be probably the perfect range to take him around 2. So coming down to number 10, I have the Eagles taking Jared Verse. I'm so high on Jared Verse. And the funniest thing is I just tweeted out today because as soon I'd only seen Jared Verse taking in like probably 16 and after. And as soon, and I'm not saying that I started this, so don't get that wrong. I understand. I have 11 subscribers, okay? But, as soon as I started mocking that, I saw a lot more people mocking Jared Verse high. And that's the thing that's so funny about the draft is that you got to understand, like, people are going to see different things. Like, there's so many people that are high on Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think with what's going on with injury and him being primarily a slot receiver, I might even not have, I'm like, it might be a real possibility where he's not taken in the first, which people would scream at me for that. But that's how I feel. So the thing is that people see the draft so differently, but I feel like some people are worried to get hate, whereas I'm not. Because I know that with some of these trades, even I'm going to have people in the comments coming at me, and that's okay. But all the trades that I did, I think are actually very real scenarios. I mean, I don't think anybody expected A.J. Brown to get traded to the Eagles or Marquise Brown to get traded from the Ravens to the Cardinals. I mean, there were some wild trades. There's always some wild trades. You had Jalen Ramsey. You had, I mean, there's so many wild trades that happen in the NFL draft, and it seems like every year it gets crazier. So, anyways, my point is that Jared Verse, I think I mocked him at 8. I want to say last time. I think that's where the Falcons were. It was either 7 or 8. And as soon as I did that, PFF comes up with a mock draft. I think they had him at like 6 or something. Like, people are starting to notice what I see in this guy, and he just reminds me so much of Kayvon Thibodeau, and he's so athletic and he's strong, and I'm in love with this guy. He is on my top 20 prospects. I will be coming out with a video of that soon, but he's on my top 20 prospects, maybe even top 10. We're going to be really going into depth, making sure that I'm picking the guys that I want to moving forward. So number 11, we have another trade. We have the Patriots finally taking the reins on something and trading up to take Quentin Johnston, who's my number 1 wide receiver. I love him so much. He reminds me of skinnier Julio Jones. I'll say that 1,000 times as well. Patriots trade their first round pick, which is pick 14, and Josh Uche. And this is where I'm going to get hate, and that's okay. But I have the Patriots trading Josh Uche because here the Texans could easily grab Quentin Johnston. I've mocked him there 1,000 times to the Texans before. And it's the Texans look at this like, okay, someone's going to have to really move me for me to trade away, just outside of the top 10, like players that should have been taken in the top 10. Like 11 is like the best pick to be at. Like, it really is. So, they look at it like Josh Uche is definitely going to be, in my opinion, better in a 3-4 as an outside linebacker, but I think he can play the 4-3 that the Texans are in right now. And I think Lovie Smith will know how to use him very well. So, I have them trading Josh Uche to move up 3 spots, but hold on, it's not just straight up pick. The Texans trade pick 11. They trade a 2023 fifth, which is projected 171, and then they have a future 2024 6-round pick. So they get 2 late-round picks in exchange for moving back 3 spots, and they get Josh Uche as who they could use as a potential edge rusher. Josh Uche is 24. His contract comes up the next year, and a guy like Anthony Jennings, who's right behind him, who's very comparable. The Patriots, Judon's doing his thing. I think that, they look at it like, all right, we're going to have to pay this guy. This is his first good season, so you don't know if that'll drop off. So there's question marks with this for the Texans too. There is, believe it or not. But I know I will get hate for that trade, but I think the Patriots finally lock in that number 1 wide receiver, because Quentin Johnston will be. And, what's his name? Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar's contract is up after this year. The year after that, you have Devontae Parker, who's already aging. He's still playing great, don't get me wrong, but is already aging. And then you got Kendrick Bourne, and then you have Jonnu Smith, and Hunter Henry's contract's coming up. Like, this is something where, like, they need to find that guy. They haven't had that guy for years now, like years. So this is a necessary one in my opinion. I think that Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be your slot guy, and I don't think he's going to be your number one wide receiver. I don't think even Jordan Addison will probably be. I think he's like the perfect complementary piece, like the, T. Higgins to Jamar Chase. That's how I view Jordan Addison. I think he's going to be like an elite wide receiver too, but get Quentin Johnson, get your wide receiver one, man. Like, get somebody for your quarterback that, like, whoever that is. Maybe they move forward with Zappy. Maybe they move forward with Mac Jones. Maybe they move forward and get a future guy. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, like, you need somebody that you can count on. And I think Quentin Johnson's that guy. So that's why I just went into a big explanation for that. That's the reasoning for it. Number 12, I have the Seahawks taking Isaiah Foskey, who I've actually become much more high on now. Was watching film on him this morning as well. And I'd watched some of him before. I watched a little bit more, so highlights to kind of get a grip of what I could see what he could do on his best plays. But when I sat down and watched the film, it made me realize how, and like, I'm not saying, you need to understand me on this when I say Micah Parsons. I'm not saying this guy is Micah Parsons. I'm saying that this guy, plays like a Micah Parsons in the sense of him just being a Swiss Army knife. Like, he literally genuinely can play edge rusher, D-line, like edge rusher or D-line. He can play outside linebacker. He can play middle. He could play middle linebacker, like, no lie. Super athletic. Just you could really move him on so many parts, just anywhere in the box, really. And he will do well. I do like him as a 3-4 outside linebacker the most, but that's not saying that he can't get down and dirty with a hand in the dirt. So I really like Foskey. I was really impressed with what I'm seeing. And I think that he's going to rise, just like I said Jared Verse was, and now he is. I think he'll rise just like Jared Verse did. I think both of those guys will be top 15 picks, no doubt. Titans take Paris Johnson. Peter Skoronski's off. Taylor Lewan's contract, I believe, is either up. It's either this year or next year. He's getting older. Their offensive line has been through so many troubles. Getting a guy like Paris Johnson, who I think is very similar to the fact of where he could play guard as well. Like, you just need to get you need to build this up. Like, this is by far, in my opinion, besides like some inconsistent quarterback play, this is their main need. It is. Not I think, it is their main need. So Titans lock it down, get a tackle for the future, or guard. And then this is the trade with the Patriots. I have them trading back, and then they take Jackson Smith-Njigba. Who knows what's going to happen with that Texans wide receiver room? It sounds like Brandon Cooks will probably get traded. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is such a solid slot receiver, and he's got, like, the main thing about him that everybody likes is just the upside. Like, the yards after catch, like, the upside of this guy could be huge. Like, he could be your big play guy. So, maybe Texans look at that and they're like, look, let's try to get that big play slot guy, gets open easily. Don't have to worry about him being on the outside guy that we can now have Bryce Young throwing to. And they get they get a really solid edge rusher with Josh Uche. And so they have a really solid wide receiver, Josh Uche and Bryce Young, already in this draft. So they're addressing a defensive need with a current player, and they're getting their offense up. So that's kind of how I looked at that, and I know you're going to be like, why would they trade back just to take another wide receiver? It's like, okay, well, look, the Patriots offered them a really, really good offer, and they were like, okay, I'll take that. And like, the thing that you have to remember, the Texans are going to have to pay Uche or let him go. So, like, there's factors to this. 15, we have the Jets taking Trenton Simpson. So I watched some Trenton Simpson film this morning and last night, and I was impressed with him. I do not like No Sewell. I've made that pretty clear. But Trenton Simpson is actually somebody that I could even see playing outside linebacker, probably in a 4-3, if I had to be honest. I don't know how well he would do as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but probably in a 4-3. But I do really like him as middle linebacker. He's got some good size. He's 6'3". He has really good awareness. That's one of the first things that I noticed. Like, he's able to realize what's going on around him, even between all the, big offensive linemen, able to kind of break away, reaches out of tackles, stuff like that. So, the Jets have Quincy Williams, and they have CJ Mosley, who's playing great but getting older. And they have Quan Alexander, who's older and kind of a pastime thing. Love Quan, but maybe they see this as a position like, look, this is a really athletic linebacker. Let's try to upgrade this position. So I have the Jets taking Trenton Simpson, doing something a little bit different this time. 16, the Steelers take Broderick Jones, the tackle out of Georgia. Big fan of Broderick Jones. I'm a UGA fan. He's going to be great as a tackle. I don't think he can play guard well. I won't lie. I don't think he can play guard well, so this is kind of like tackle or nothing. But Steelers need offensive line help pretty bad. And Broderick Jones, Georgia tackles play very, very solid. So moving on, we have the Packers at 17. I have them finally. Jordan Addison, in this case, falls. So does Tyree Wilson. Michael Mayer, a lot of people have him going a lot higher than this. So, I have this guy falling a good bit. Tyree Wilson, Jordan Addison, Michael Mayer, these guys, Packers take Jordan Addison at 17. And, it's pretty self-explanatory. Christian Watson has really broken out. You don't know what will happen with the other wide receivers. They could be something, maybe they, re-signing Alan Lazard. But Jordan Addison is just really solid. I've said it, before, Tyler Lockett type receiver. And it doesn't matter which quarterback you have, whether that's Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers. This will be an asset for him, a weapon to utilize. So it's pretty obvious pick there, not much explanation. 18, I have the Lions. Before, I have them trading back and taking Joey Porter Jr. He is really lengthy, good corner, so that we're establishing that part on the defense. The other part that they could use help on, offense is really firing on all cylinders. They're doing a really good job right now. They could make it in the playoffs. It's crazy. So I think they can get it done with Jared Goff, honestly. I think the thing that they need to get better is that defense and stop, because a lot of the games are really high scoring. So they need to get, some guys on defense that can help get some stops. So I have them taking Tyree Wilson, who slides in this case. I actually think he will. I've been mocking him pretty high, but the more and more that I watched him, I actually think he will fall in the actual draft. Not because he's not a great prospect, but because he's got a little ticks that you kind of look at and you're like, is this guy worth taking top 15, top 10? He's huge, he's super strong, but other than that, he lacks the pass rush moves. He's, probably lacks a little bit of athleticism, and, a little uncoordinated, doesn't have the best burst off the line either. So I just think that, this is a big body guy that the Lions can slide in, raw, huge upside, but, addressing that need, getting some more pressure on the quarterback. And I think it'll be a good little piece to be standing there with Aiden Hutchinson, who's had a pretty damn good rookie year. So 19, I have the Jags. A lot of people have been saying, oh, Jags don't need offensive line. They don't need defensive line. So, we need corner. And I think that the corners will either improve or get it done if other positions are better. But I listen this time. I have the Jags taking Cam Smith. He's really cocky. He plays very aggressively. And I like that a lot. I think that genuinely, I'm starting to think that Cam Smith is coming higher and higher and higher on the draft boards for me. I like him a lot more than a lot of the prospects. I would say that he's probably number 3 for me right now, but I could even see him taking over Joey Porter Jr., who I really like. But he's started to impress me a lot. So I have the Jags taking Cam Smith. Get that group a little bit more elevated and get that group a little bit more depth. See if that he's can be as high as a CB1 or something like that, which I think he can be. So Bucks at 20. I've had them going several different things before. This time I'm gonna have them taking someone that I hate going in the first round and who I don't think will go in the first round, but I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. Keely Ringo, DB, not corner, DB out of UGA. I'm a Georgia fan. I'm not gonna shit talk anybody that's that doesn't need to be. But Ringo, I do not like his play style. I think the reason why he's had some pretty good success and some notice is because he's on Georgia, and that defense is so good. But I listed him as DB solely because he could play corner. Sure, that's what he plays. I think he'd be better at safety. The Bucs are losing several corners in this offseason. They don't have a lot of money, so I'm sure that they won't be able to retain guys like Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting. So they could use a corner, and then they're also not great on safeties either, losing guys that they brought in this offseason on one-year deals and stuff like that. So they could use safety or corner, and I just think Keely Ringo can fill either one of those gaps that they need really bad. So maybe take him, maybe bank on the upside, but I do not like him as a first-round pick. I'm not going to lie. 21, the Commanders, I've taken Michael Mayer. I haven't seen this one yet, and I think it honestly would be a good pick for them. I think that they could absolutely go offensive line. Maybe they really try to take like a guy like Osiris Torrance or something like that. I wouldn't honestly be shocked if that happened. I think Torrance is going to go a lot higher than people think, but get a guy that can block well. You have Brian Robinson, you have Antonio Gibson. These guys are going to do well for you in the run. Michael Mayer is going to help block for that. He's a really good receiving threat. They've used Logan Thomas very well in the passing game. And I think, why not? I have him falling in this case, which I think he probably should go around this range. I'm not going to lie. I think he's worth a top 15 pick. Top 15 pick in the first, but this time, I have him falling. This is probably more appropriate range for him. So I have them ending up with the number 1 tight end in the draft. Giants. QB of the future. Who is it? Daniel Jones. Maybe he's played better this season, but in years past, there's a lot of, I think, Giants fans, honestly, that support Daniel Jones, and I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, which I definitely did the year before. I won't even lie. I will take my criticism for that, but I did not like Daniel Jones. He's played a lot better this year, but I don't think that's something where, it's so, to me, you only bring him back if you're getting a really good contract. So even if you do, I think you just take this guy who's got a lot of upside that brings a whole different dynamic to your offense that can run really well. I mean, honestly, just imagine Lamar Jackson in the Giants offense or something like that. Like he's a really, really good, quarterback on the run. Other throwing dynamics need to come to, light, but that's kind of what the Giants need too, though, their weapons or lack thereof aren't really there. So, if they're not there, then you have that guy that can get out of the pocket, scramble, and get a couple yards or more. This is the final trade, I believe, that I have in this mock. I love Brian Branch. I had him fall so much farther than I wanted him to. He's for sure going to be in my top 20 prospects. That's the first one that I've said for sure. He's for sure going to be in my top 20 prospects video. I love Brian Branch. I'm so stoked to see how this guy's going to do in the NFL. Just elite safety, elite. So I have the Cowboys trading up for him. They got some older guys. They have Jaron Kearse and stuff like that. Guys that get the job done, but they could use an upgrade. So I have the Cowboys trading their 2023 first, pick 26, and their 2023 fourth pick, projected 126. And then we have the Chargers trading their 2023 first, which is pick 23. So we have the Chargers moving back 3 spots and gaining a fourth. I think it's smart. I think that with the guys that are on the board, the Chargers could, select some guys, but I think that they would like to move back, take somebody that, maybe they won't get so ridiculed. They're getting a fourth, maybe not get so ridiculed for taking at 23 rather than 26. You're at the very, very back end of the draft. So I'm taking them there. So the 23, the Cowboys take Brian Branch. Elite safety, awareness, play recognition is just so I think that would be it would be really exciting to see a Cowboys secondary with Branch and Trayvon Diggs. It really would. So 24, I have the Ravens taking Clark Phillips. I think I've had this one last time or the time before. It just makes sense. Marcus Peters getting older. Take a guy that might be a tiny bit undersized, but can play to the level for sure and is worth a first-round pick in my opinion. So I like Clark Phillips out of Utah for the Ravens, and that's who I'm going to have them taking here at 24. Moving on to the last couple of picks. Not really a couple, but I have probably the main fall of the entire draft, which is Brian Brossie. I thought this was an interesting thing. Maybe some people don't value defensive tackle as much as they should. Maybe some, teams saw it as, all right, well, I like this player better. We could use that, but I like this player better. So I had him falling really, really far all the way to the Broncos. at 25, which probably won't happen. I'll be realistic. Probably won't happen. But here's the thing about a mock draft. I can't just come out every single time and give you guys the same exact things. And the draft is unpredictable. It's ultimately unpredictable. So you don't know what's going to happen. Brian Brossi falling to 25 for the Broncos. They need interior depth. With the scheme that they run, I think he'd be perfect as a left end, right end, or defensive tackle, kind of like what I said. As Jalen Carter in a 3-4. So I think Brossi would be a phenomenal prospect. I think with him falling this part, they would be, sitting there clapping themselves up for getting someone like that. So, and then we have the Chargers with that Cowboys trade, trading back to 26. And so many people will say they don't need a wide receiver, and so many people say they need a wide receiver. So I decided to go with the wide receiver people this time. I usually don't have them taking wide receiver, I don't believe. So I have them taking Jalen Hyatt, who so many people are high on, just like me. Some people think he can sneak into the bottom of the first or early second. Some people think that he should be way later than that, which I think you're crazy. But yeah, Chargers get Jalen Hyatt. Give Justin Herbert. You got your elite route running guy with Keenan Allen. You got your big contested catch receiver with Mike Williams, and then Joshua Palmer's just kind of your slot successful. He honestly just kind of a whole package. You don't really list him as one thing. He's just really solid at everything. But then you get a guy like Jalen Hyatt, who's just kind of look at Patrick Mahomes. He's got speedy receivers. You got a McCole Hardman, you got twitchy receivers like Kadarius Toney, who are fast as well. Get Justin Herbert a wide receiver weapon that just burns the defense. Giving him somebody that he can throw to 30, 40 yards down the field. So yeah, Jalen Hyatt, I would love that fit for them. I think Chargers fans would be honestly pretty happy with this pick, or at least so in the long run. With the Bengals, have them taking Eli Ricks. The corner spot for them just needs either depth or an upgrade, and I think you take Ricks here and hope that you can maybe pair him with a Chidobe Awuzie, who is playing really well this season, and then is he still on injury? He is, isn't he? Yeah, he's still on injury. Hope that he's, Eli Ricks is better than Eli Apple. So, upgrade that a little bit. 28 out of the Chiefs. This would be a dream scenario for the Chiefs. Bijan Robinson. Running backs always fall farther than people think, at least in recent years. So I don't have Jahmyr Gibbs even in the first round of this one. I have the Chiefs taking Bijan Robinson. Phenomenal prospect. Not much to say here. Chiefs need a better run game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't getting it done. Pacheco's doing really well, but if you flip, have a 1-2 punch with Robinson and Pacheco, and you already have such an elite passing game with Kelsey and stuff like that, this offense would be a hell of a lot even more scarier. It would be so scary. And I think this is a dream scenario for the Chiefs. I think if the Chiefs are at 28, if that's where they officially land on, if they can get Bijan Robinson at 28, I think they would be, ecstatic. Absolutely ecstatic. So Vikings, I have taking Osiris Torrance. They got so many injuries. They need upgrades on the interior desperately. Besides Garrett Bradbury, that interior is just So, get Osiris Torrance here. He falls in this case, too. I had a lot of players falling. And then 30, the Bills are at, the last couple of picks. This is where sometimes you see either a reach or a trade back into the second if they don't have the players that they want there. But I had them reaching and taking Anton Harrison. Same kind of thing going on with the Vikings. They can use upgrades really anywhere, but especially at tackle. So I have them taking Anton Harrison. He's probably an early to mid-second. So, Bills don't have early to mid-second. Take Anton Harrison. Get a tackle. Pray that the upside builds him up into your future guy. And then I have the Eagles doubling down. And getting a guy like Nolan Smith. And just maybe, Reddick, they're paying a lot of money. If they can get to a really solid group of edge rushers, I just think that defense is going to be so solid for a long time. You really, people say you really can't have enough corners. You really can't have enough edge rushers. Just grab a bunch of edge rushers in the draft. This is something that we don't ever see, so you don't know. But, just grab a bunch of edge rushers in the draft and then play them all on separate snaps. And whatever ones perform the best, you keep. And, get Nolan Smith here. I've seen people put him in the first round. I've seen people put him at the end of the second round. But he's a really solid prospect, and he's really strong. Got some solid size. Pair him with Jared Verse. See what happens on that defensive line. So I honestly, this is an out there pick, but I think it'd be exciting. And if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be like, man, our edge rush is going to be so effing good. So yeah, I'm going to have that ending the draft. Obviously, Dolphins forfeited their pick. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay safe, and God bless.